All right, this is the third video in the video that was inspired by 1 degree weather. With this one, I was going to talk about the ways to beat the things working against that thermostat that's trying to keep your body out of weight. I I guess I have to start here with sleep. Um, you got to sleep, and the way I can describe it is like if you sleep less, your leptin is lower, and leptin is just a satiating hormone. So your hormones change if you sleep less. If you're less than 6 hours, I'll just be blunt. If you're less than 6 hours, across the board with everyone has different set points as far as how much sleep is required. But if you're less than 6 hours, assure that your leptin hormone is down, so you're not going to be as satiated even when you do eat, which will cause you to eat more. Mechanistically, that's the easiest way to explain it without trying to like sound super smart. So sleep more, one. The other thing, which I imagine, I've been training for 15 years. I've heard a lot of stories and why some people can't do this and all this kind of stuff. And some of it's valid and some of it's like grow up. But you got to lower your stress. Figure it out. Figure out a way to lower your stress. I can just speak to why this happens. As you stress about whatever the fuck you're stressing about, cortisol goes up, and it goes up into your hypothalamus, and your hypothalamus lowers the sensitivity to leptin. That's just what I mentioned about the sleep. So if it lowers the sensitivity to leptin, that means I am not responding to being satiated or being full. So what that means is I will eat more food. So you have TikTok back, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If one of those things stress you out, get rid of that. If your significant other stresses you out, I guess get rid of that. If your kids stress you out, I don't know what to tell you. Figure out how to lower your stress. You have the internet. There's no reason to not know how to do something. Choose wisely. I guess that's the best way to grow. If you're trying to lose weight, you're going to have to lower your stress levels. I'm not saying no stress, but if you are really stressed, that's a step. So sleep, lower your stress. My favorite part and the thing that I think you can pull the lever on the most is muscle. You have to strength train, and I guess I'll keep it mechanistically. You have to strength train because the more muscle you have, inside your muscle has the greatest amount of mitochondria. So the more mitochondria density, the more mitochondria you have in one spot, the better. And the better is because fat is only metabolized through mitochondria, which means fat's only broken down through mitochondria. And you can create mitochondria by creating more muscle in your body. Muscle makes basically everything better in life. And I think that's an oversimplification, but if we're just keeping in terms to like to just weight loss, that's why it is good. Is muscle contains a lot of mitochondria, so its mitochondrial density is high, and fat is metabolized through the muscle. Another reason why muscle is good for maintaining that basal metabolic rate, so that what I talked about earlier is like your metabolic rate can start to lower if you start to lose weight. So why that's important to have muscle, to strength train, to gain muscle, not to maintain muscle, is like the more muscle you have. If I'm doing movement, say if I'm doing like this, I'm constantly breaking down muscle, which means I'm constantly repairing muscle, which means it takes calories, like it takes units of energy for that process to happen. And the more units of energy that I'm using throughout the day doing nothing, consider this like non-exercise activity, I can, without planning, burn more calories. So say if I do a 40-minute workout and burn 400 calories. If I have been adding muscle over time, let's go fast forward 3-4 weeks, and I didn't get a chance to work out, and I just was navigating at a higher amount of muscle, I could potentially burn like 400 calories in the day as if I worked out. So like that should be enough reason to lift weights in efforts to gain more muscle right there, because it's more metabolically active. Why is it more metabolically active? Because it's always breaking down and rebuilding. Why is that good in relation in terms of fat? Because it has more mitochondria in the muscle, and fat only gets metabolized in the in the mitochondria. So like that's reason why to exercise and to strength train. And there's plenty more reason, but let's just keep it in terms of that. Leading into that, high protein diet. Whether you want to do low carb, high fat, the success, and this is categorically, if you want to read any study, probably leads into, if it was low carb, high fat, the protein was accounted for, it'll have the same results of the inversion of low fat, high carb, or moderate carb. The protein was the main reason why that happened. So when you have more protein, you're rebuilding that muscle, making you more metabolically active. They can go through the same process I'm not necessarily going to talk about. So high protein. What's high protein? At least 60% of your body weight. If you can get more than that, fantastic. There's no top end that's real. Yeah. Even when they talk about, well, protein for kidney damage, most people don't have the capacity to consume that amount. Most people don't have the capacity to consume 2.5 or 3 times the amount of their body weight in protein, or even lean muscle in protein. So like, that's not a consideration. You can Google yourself to hell and not find anything on that, because more likely than not, if you're watching this, you can't do it anyway. So protein, more muscle, sleep, lower your stress. And then the last thing would be try to limit your food variety, because one sect of people that have gotten this right would be like figure competitors, bodybuilders and stuff like that. Their variety of food is low. Their willpower and their adherence is high, but as you add more variety to it, you're less satiated. And what I mean by that, I'll give a quick story. When I went to college, I ate Pop-Tarts all the time because I didn't have them when I was at home. And because I would eat Pop-Tarts all the time, that like endorphin and that dopamine effect started to lower over time, because I'm reintroducing the same thing. So what started off as a box a day ended up being like, hey, maybe I had Pop-Tarts twice this week. Like it changes that. So if I can limit my food variety, I can control the amount that I eat over time. But if your finances can afford for you to have, I want a different breakfast every day, a different lunch every day, a different dinner every day, like you are going to balloon in weight. It's almost like a rich man's kind of way to fall, so to speak, is doing that sort of thing. So limit your food. Like, these are the proteins I'm gonna eat, these are the carbs I'm gonna eat, these are my fat sources, and that's what I'm gonna work with. Those are your best ways. And again, if you wanna gain weight, do the opposite of everything I just said. Except for sleep. Sleep, you're still gonna need that, and then lowering your stress is still gonna be that. But if you wanna gain weight, muscle, still, that's part of the way, because it retains water and whatnot. But for people that's, well, is this just water weight? Like, no. If you're trying to lose weight, you still have the mitochondria part. Yeah, that's it.